Let's just jump straight into this explainer today because we're going to debunk a pretty toxic myth, the idea that relying on pure motivation is the ultimate key to success. We've all heard the narrative from the self-help world, right? If you want it badly enough, the work just happens organically. And if you're struggling, well, you must just not want it. Okay, but let's actually look at the data, because this narrative actually causes real harm. Instead, we're going to explore how to build a clean, simple, and professional framework to achieve your goals without completely burning yourself out.
Think about this quote, adapted from Jim Ryan. It perfectly captures why the old way just doesn't work. Doing things just because you want it enough is structurally incapable of building anything that lasts. Building your goals on a totally inconsistent feeling will inevitably produce inconsistent results. Instead, we need a cleaner system, one that relies on intentional discipline deeply rooted in your core values. Section 1. The myth and biology of motivation. To really grasp why we burn out, we've first got to look at how motivation functions on a biological level.
Now, the biology behind these two states, which we can think of as orange and green phases, is completely fascinating. Dopamine, which is the chemical driver of motivation, isn't actually released when we get something pleasant. It's released in anticipation of it. Dopamine loves novelty. It loves the start of things. But you know what it absolutely does not love? The routine maintenance of something that already works. This means motivation is naturally episodic. So what does that mean for us? It means we have to use our high motivation phase, the orange side, to make structural decisions, setting up your calendar, designing your environment. Then, when motivation inevitably tanks into the green zone, you cannot read that as a sign that the project is wrong. You just have to act, not wait, because the system actually strengthens through the action itself.
Section 2. Rethinking willpower and control. Because if motivation isn't a constant, we have to completely rethink our whole understanding of willpower. Think about a winding path cleared through a dense forest. Researcher Michael Enslicht and his colleagues at Toronto suggest something really counterintuitive. They say that exhaustion and losing self-control are not actually caused by your brain running out of cognitive juice. It's literally just a shift in motivation. When you get tired of constantly controlling yourself, you just become less motivated to keep doing it. So, how do we protect that energy? We design our environment and our routines, just like clearing that path in the woods, so that willpower is rarely even needed. You don't build discipline by aggressively training your willpower, you build it by drastically reducing the number of choices that require it.
And that leads us right into Deci and Ryan's self-determination theory, showing two fundamentally different types of motivation. On the left, you've got controlled motivation. This is driven by external pressure, guilt, or maybe shame. Sure, it produces compliance, but the emotional cost is massive. You're constantly fighting resistance, leading straight to fatigue. But on the right, autonomous motivation. This is driven by your authentic personal values and conscious choices. Operating from this space preserves your emotional energy. It creates genuine engagement and a deep sense of self-respect.
Section 3. Discipline as self-care. Let's shift to a completely new paradigm where we stop viewing discipline as a punishment and start seeing it as an act of love. The difference here is absolutely profound. When you treat discipline as an obligation, you're really just obeying a rule to avoid a negative consequence. It's exhausting. But discipline as care? That is doing something for the person you're going to be in 6 months, a year, or 10 years down the road. Hal Hershfield's experimental research at UCLA proves this beautifully. People who feel a strong psychological connection to their future self, people who literally view their future self as a real person they have a relationship with, make systematically better, deeply caring long-term choices.
Section 4. Building your discipline system. So, if discipline is self-care, how do we practically set up an environment that actually supports this?
Here's a super clean 3-step framework. Step 1 is temptation bundling, documented by Catherine Milkman. It's basically pairing a task you usually avoid with something you genuinely love doing. Simple, right? Step 2 is pre-commitment. Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein showed us the power of making decisions in advance when your motivation is high to lock in your future behavior. And finally, step 3 is the already decided principle. By making one single decision, like saying, I've already decided I do not open work emails on Friday evenings, you instantly eliminate daily mental battles and free up your energy for what truly matters.
Section 5. The virtuous cycle. Because once you get these clean systems running, motivation and discipline actually stop competing with each other.
Instead, they start fueling one another in a self-reinforcing loop. Motivation gives you that initial momentum to build your system. Then, discipline steps in to maintain the behavior when your motivation inevitably drops. Over time, that discipline maintenance produces real, tangible results. And here's the best part. Backed by Teresa Amabili's research on the progress principle, seeing that measurable progress triggers renewed motivation. The cycle just starts all over again, even stronger than before.
As we wrap up this explainer today, I want you to keep this minimal, colorful image in your head. Motivation is a bright orange fire. It gives you that beautiful initial spark. But discipline? Discipline is the sturdy green chimney. It is the carefully built structure that protects the flame from the wind, channels its energy, and keeps it burning for the long haul.
I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Take a hard look at your own routines. Are you fighting against yourself using some outdated model of willpower and forced obligation? Think about the structures in your life and ask yourself how you can redesign your environment today. Remember, do not build discipline as an exhausting obligation to someone else. Build it as intentional care for the exact person you want to become. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.